Hi, this is Shu, and today I'm going to be mailing Yuzuru's commission. And I want to talk briefly about premise today. So that's the subject that I decided to start with because I founded a new meetup group called the Calgary Comics Creators Association. So for anyone living in Calgary, I want to see if we could get together and work on our comics and share our progress together. So yesterday, this is primarily done through Skype. So yesterday's Skype conversation focused on the designing principle of your story. So what that means is instead of a synopsis, which is a summary of what is your story, the premise is even shorter. It's usually just a sentence, and it captures what makes your story super unique. So, for example, with Jurassic Park, the designing principle or the premise is what would happen if dinosaurs and humans were together in the same time and place, who would win, right? That's the designing principle around it. If you change that, the entire story would be different. Whereas how the story is told, whether it's the first movie or the second movie, or whether it's done in a book form or a comic book or by film, like none of that really matters. Taking away the dinosaurs versus humans, that would be no Jurassic Park, right? That's the core concept which makes the story unique. So same with so Avatar. I like to use Avatar: The Last Airbender as an example. So it's another boy saves the world show. There's a lot of boy saves the world concepts. But what makes that particular story unique is that the main character is a monk. So the designing principle or the premise of the story is a 12-year-old boy or a 12-year-old monk has to maintain his principles of nonviolence and at the same time stop a war. So then the question is, how does he do that, right? I want to know, how does a kid stop a war if he's vowed not to kill, right? So that you could change a lot of things about the show in terms of its like supernatural elements, but I think that is the core concept, that if you change that, if Aang wasn't, okay, somebody messed me up because I was thinking of the movie that shall not be named. But anyway, yeah, if we changed Aang from like an airbender with like Tibetan history, we would get a very different story, right? So that's what the creators did with the sequel, Legend of Korra. They're like, okay, what if we change the main character? Same universe, right? The same bending stuff, same universe, but if we change the main character, the story changes completely. And so that's why the designing principle or the premise of Avatar: The Last Airbender revolves around the non-violence aspect. So going with those two examples, I'm going to talk about my story. So the myth of Eros and Psyche, the designing principle around that story is that Shai's version of Psyche is someone who doesn't want to get married to a man. So she decides, I'm not going to marry any man. And so the loophole is she ends up marrying a god instead. So how does that turn out? And for Unspoken or Raven, that one I'm still toying around with, but because there's different types of stories, right? There's the ones that follow a main character through their lifetime, and then there's ones like Game of Thrones, which doesn't follow a particular character, but their concept, instead of being focused on the character, is focused on the story world. So anybody could fight for the throne, basically, right? The question is, who gets the throne? Who rules? And Unspoken is sort of like that, in that Zai is technically the main character, but and the story is supposed to be focused on him, but it really comes down to, you know, what if there was a race that could procreate regardless of sex or gender, then, you know, how would that turn out, or how would that sort of exist socially? Because this isn't like a world or a planet of aliens where everyone's androgynous, right? So these are sort of intersex or androgynous beings set in a gender binary world, and so they have to navigate that and, you know, not end up being kidnapped for experiments or anything crazy like that. But anyway, so that's about my stories, and I hope you found this helpful if you're trying to come up with the designing principle or the premise for your story. So the idea is to keep it really concise, keep it short, and yeah, pick something that makes people think, right? Makes people wonder, creates intrigue, and so that people want to know more about your story. Well, that's my vlog for the day, and I will see you next week, and we'll talk more about character design from the inside out. Bye!